Tonight's species loves to hang out on rocky bottom and structure. They are also very popular throughout the state, and the one thing that always comes to my mind is how beautiful they are in that cobalt blue water. I also love how great they taste on my dinner plate. Tonight, it's all about the red snapper here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report.
Welcome to the Florida Insider Fishing Report, powered by Harbor Trucks and presented by Yamaha.
We're back for another exciting and fish-catching week on the Florida Insider Fishing Report. We're your hosts, Brie Gabrielle and Captain Rick Murphy, and we're here with a live studio audience and special guest Mike Avanon, ready to talk about red snapper, right, Rick? I can't even say it without, you have to just say
You know
it.
the snapper?
Yeah.
Brie, he's certainly one of my favorite fish, whether it's a mangrove snapper, red snapper. But the reason why I like the red snapper, as I said in the open, is because of how beautiful that red contrast against that blue water. And I really learned that with one of my friends that we brought in tonight, who is a snapper specialist.
Snapper? I'm going to have to get that down. All right, well, we can't forget about our
Good
resident CCA workbench master, Dave Ferrell. Dave, you're going to have some help over there today.
Help? I'm having him do everything.
Great.
I'm just going to be feeding him
Stealing money,
questions.
baby.
That's it, it's done.
And taking cash and feeding him a couple questions and
split the
taking
money
Rick's
with
money.
Taking Rick's money. Mike, you don't get any, but we're happy you're here tonight. All right, let's start off in the Star Tron Central West region with Captain Jeff Page joining us via FaceTime tonight. Talk to us, Jeff.
Hey, good evening, y'all.
Hey.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
The American red snapper, you know, in my Startron Central West region, there was a time when maybe he was down on numbers, but thanks to proper management and regulations, he's doing quite well, and there's lots of them. And this time of year, I get reports from all the captains, 90 feet of water on out has been the number. Of course, your bigger fish are going to be out deeper. But Captain Tim Noe of the Flying Fish Fleet, he's been doing real well on half-day trips in that 90 to 110 foot of water over hard bottom areas, using a mixture of live pinfish as well as frozen sardines. And then on out a little bit deeper, they're getting the bigger fish. And he likes to use a standard bottom rig with 2 to 3 ounces of weight, depending on how hard the tide's running. And then he also uses a chicken rig, which suspends the bait up above the lead just a little bit. Both are very effective. Both are going to get good quality results. And don't be surprised while you're out there if you get a red grouper, a gag grouper, or even a scamp in the same area. I've got a couple nice photos tonight. The first one of Captain Steve Bell out of Sarasota with a nice red snapper he got last week. And then my second photos are two of my good friends, Don and Dax Legassi of Legassi Plumbing, and they won first place in the Riverview High School shootout out of Siesta Key Marina with that nice red snapper.
All right, tell me about the gags, bub.
All right, like I said, while you're out there red snapper fishing, don't be surprised if you come up with a gag grouper. Chuck Casagrande on a recent trip in his catamaran scored well on some nice gag groupers along with red groupers and scamp. He was in 120 feet of water, but I've had reports from Travis Orman down in Stump Pass. He's been catching them in as close as 70 feet. The Key Rick has been finding hard bottom areas and ledges with good bait stacks showing. And both guys are liking to bring lots of live pinfish, threadfin, and a few boxes of frozen sardines. Moving inshore, speckled trout. You know I'm just a trout fisherman from Sarasota. Water temperature is up in the upper 80s, and the trout have moved out to the deeper grass flats, Rick. It's really been good because we haven't had a lot of rain. The water's clear, and all that floating grass is starting to clean up. They're over the deeper potholes and edges off flats down south like Devilfish Key, Sandfly Key, and then up north my way, Terracea Bay, Emerson Point, Rattlesnake Key, and even the grass off of Joe's Island. Some really nice speckled trout. Don't be surprised if you pick up a Spanish mackerel or bluefish while you're trout fishing. Some of the lures I like to use are the Saltwater Assassin, Houdini, Sea Shad, on a 1/4 ounce jig head to get it down in that 4 to 6 foot of water. And it's not uncommon that you're going to catch, like I said, Spanish mackerel or bluefish. My last species tonight, snook. Snook fishing remains consistent with lots of bigger fish that have moved into the passes and along the beach. A lot of guys, Rick, are walking the beaches in the morning with throwing their flies at them. Anywhere you see a down tree or a rock pile, there's going to be some snook holding on them. That means Gasparilla Pass, Stump Pass, and the Venice jetties at night have been very productive using live silver mullet and ladyfish. To the north around Passage Key and Egmont Key, and then also in the early morning areas around the oyster bars in Terracea Bay and McGill Bay. Speaking of snook, Rick, I know you met one of the guys from the tournament, the big Art Shiver Snook tournament wrapped up, and I've got 3 photos of the winners, and then I've got a 4th photo. The first one are the junior winners. The second photo is the lady winners. The 3rd photo is the overall men winners, who Billy Hallstrom and Ryan Shannon. And that 4th photo is Ryan Shannon with their biggest of their 4 snook, 42 inches. All the proceeds, after they paid all the winners, all went to a good charity, and it's really becoming a popular tournament in the in Sarasota area.
All right,
Nice
Jeffrey,
fish.
thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the daiquiri deck hotspots from the Central West region. He says inshore mangrove snapper, lots of 12 to 14 inch snapper in the passes and on the grass flats just inside of the passes throughout the entire region. And then offshore red grouper still looking strong bite over the hard bottoms in 110 feet of water off of Venice to Anna Maria.
Okay, well, speaking of daiquiri deck and Venice, we'll be at the Venice location July 22nd from 6 to 8 p.m. So come join Rick, Jeff Page, and myself and join us for great food, fun, and what else, Rick?
We're going to have some of those
Some
great hors d'oeuvres and daiquiris.
Daiquiris, okay, that's what I was looking for. And we hope to see you all there. All right, now let's head north to the Yeti Panhandle region and drool over some of the red snapper being pulled up. Hey, Pat.
Brie, I tell you what, just as Jeffrey was just mentioning, Gulf of Mexico red snapper fishing this season has been exceptional. And recreational anglers have a bit more time in their season. I think it ends middle part of July, so they got a couple more weeks. Both the quantity of snapper and quality of snapper being caught is really good this year. A few are being caught in Pensacola Bay, but most of the Panhandle red snapper fishing occurs out in the Gulf of Mexico on bottom structure in 90 to 250 feet of water. A slip sinker rig with 6 to 8 feet of 50 to 80 pound leader and an 8 to 10 aught circle hook is pretty much a standard setup for targeting the red snappers. You want to bait that rig with a cigar minnow, a herring, or another, a small bait fish, and then fish with your rod tip high. When you get the bite, lower that rod tip, give that snapper a chance to ingest the bait before you get tight with them. And then also they're catching them on chicken rigs, as Jeffrey mentioned. The 2-hook chicken rig where your hooks are up above the bait. Typically, they're going to be using cut bait, either squid or minnows. Often the biggest red snappers are going to be caught well off the bottom in the middle parts of the water column. So, I'd say the bottom 2/3 of the depth. And there's a photo of Captain Chris Kirby's boat out at the backlash out of Destin. He put his anglers on a really nice catch of red snapper and grouper, and that's been pretty much a standard catch lately. They've been smacking them up here.
All right.
Awesome.
What else you got? Speaking of groupers, there's someone in that picture.
Yeah, exactly, Rick. Speaking of groupers, the gag grouper fishing has been very good the past few weeks. And the groupers are targeted on the same type of bottom structure as the snapper, but often in water as deep as 300 feet or more. So while snapper fishing, one of the anglers should have a grouper bait fish just off the bottom. The grouper rig is going to be a beefed up leader, often 100 to 150 pounds, a heavier lead to hold that bait closer to the bottom, and then a bigger bait like a porgy, an octopus, or a bonita strip. That heavier setup helps you get the grouper coming your way after the bite because they're going to go straight into that rock after you get the bite. The deeper water gags are probably averaging 50 to 20 pounds, but there's been some copper bellies, 40-plus pounds being caught lately. And then moving inshore, the speckled trout fish has been pretty good in the sound west in the bar. Captain Chuck Kemper reported his clients are caught quite a few 24-plus inch trout this past week. He's been fishing grass in 3 to 6 feet of water. Much of it is on the south side of the sound. He's looking for a break from the wind. He's fishing live baits, under corks, and casting bass sass and plastic baits. And then another consistent trout bite, probably the most consistent, is nighttime fishing under the dock lights throughout the region using live baits, either live shrimps or small minnows, finger mullets, whatnot. Position your bait or position your boat upstream of the light, cast your bait so it's going to sweep through the current, through the light. And that's been very consistent. And then finally, the other player inshore right now is the redfish. There's the deep residential docks in Fort Walton Beach and Mary Esther are providing a pretty steady bite of slot redfish using live menhaden on a Carolina rig. If shallow water lure fishing is your style, head to West Bay or North Bay in Panama City. Fish tight to the grassy shorelines, paying particular attention to grassy points, Tyler Creek mouths, and sloughs. Prospect style baits like a gold spoon are going to excel in this type of fishery. You cover a lot of water on each of your casts. Quiet and stealth are key to success. The bay redfish are running 24 to 30 inches.
All right, Pat Tarr, thank you. Good report. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the blue water outrigger hotspots from the Yeti Panhandle region. He says inshore, speckled trout under the dock lights in Santa Rosa Sound using live shrimp, and then lots of red snappers fish live baits on natural and artificial bottoms offshore. What do you think about that, Brie?
I'm thinking I love your color choice tonight.
It's my red snapper shirt.
Hey, good tell. I love it. Bells for
I'm looking
legends.
good. I got
It's
gray
looking pretty good.
soft science to match my gray Bell's pants.
And gray hat.
I got a gray
Who dressed him tonight, people?
He dressed himself.
Oh,
Did
shoot.
you know?
No. Okay, Floridians are headed to the Bell
tell you a
Central
secret
East
later.
region. Okay. And then we're doing some Academy sports, rigging and techniquing with the best of the best over there at the CCA workbench. There he is, Dave Farrell.
I was just lucky.
And
I
Mike
was just lucky to
Avanon.
have their shirt
That was
on.
tight, and I love it.
Wow.
And you've got
Mike's here. But
he is
Mike's
here.
here. He's going to do all the work.
Where
And
we're going to
again-
talk about the work.
The
Yeah.
Sportsman's
We are.
Adventure Red Snapper Specialist
favorite thing.
in the
Yeah,
house of the Florida
Okay, well,
Insider
I'm not
Fishing
needed.
Report.
All right, well, we'll be right back on
Yeah,
that
we will
note.
be.
Snapper.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Contender Boats. Always in the game. Sirius XM Marine. Weather, fishing info, and channel surfing. And Daiquiri Deck. Sarasota's favorite place to meet.
Titan and Titan XD Diesel from Harbor Trucks has America's best truck warranty, 5 years, 100,000-mile bumper to bumper, and can tow up to 12,000 pounds. Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of Titan XD and Titan in Florida, starting at $29,000. Harbor Trucks is conveniently located halfway between Tampa and Naples. Harbor Trucks, the place to buy.
Meet the water's lightest 25 horsepower four-stroke, the all-new Yamaha F25, the new standard and 25 horsepower portable four-strokes. At just 126 pounds, it's got the best power-to-weight ratio of any 25 horsepower four-stroke on the water. With performance that bests the previous Yamaha F25 and features like Yamaha's VTS for precise trolling speeds, batteryless EFI, built-in resting pads, and carry handles, it's the perfect portable power for small boats.
As close as you're gonna get to a sure thing for catching billfish is Guatemala.
They're here, man. This has been a 20-year run, buddy. These things haven't left. There's no cycle. When it comes to sail fishing, this is the real deal.
The amount of sailfish here is ridiculous.
Well, we're here at the CCA workbench, and it's time for the Academy Sports Rigs and Techniques like every week.
Yes, sir.
You know, Mike, we both fish with Garmin. I've got the Garmin 8600 series, both on my Maverick, Pathfinder, and in the Contender, and I know that you love the XSV series yourself.
I do. It's a great unit. It's really simple to use. Very user-friendly unit.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I really like about it is that you have the ability to have the GPS, sonar, and some really cool radar.
You can tie it all in at the same time. In fact, with the split screens, you can tie it all into one screen. So,
when you get to the split screens, why do you like fishing two screens?
The reason I like the two screens is because you can run it in high chirp and you can run it in low chirp. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you a broad picture with the low chirp of what's going on around you. And then the high chirp is going to give you a nice tight picture of what's right underneath the boat, very detailed picture.
So you're monitoring from 0 to 30 feet plus the full water column there.
Exactly. And what we're seeing here, this is just some fish up feeding around. Now when we get into this one, this is a real good mark because it's a nice tight red pile of bait, and that means those fish are feeding hard. You can see one fish off to the left, and then when we get into this one, this is after we've been fishing for a while. We caught some red snappers on it, and then of course this is my favorite one. You could actually see the bait push down to the bottom with the fish all around it, and that means that there's a lot going on down there. There's a lot of fish feeding at that particular time when you see that mark right there. That's a great mark.
Now I want to talk to you a little bit in a minute about the push downs, but you know, the thing I really love about it, and I know you use it as well, is the radar. When we were in the Bahamas just a few weeks ago, we're in 3,000 feet of water, and because of the split screen, which I learned from you, we were marking a school of bait, went from 50 feet down to 300 feet in 3,000 feet of water. That school of bait was over half a mile wide, and by simply taking and putting the radar in the bird mode, going through the menu, this is traditionally what those birds look like, and you can tell how the radar is adjusting with each sweep as the bird flock moves from point A to point B.
You know, it's absolutely incredible how far these machines have progressed in the last 10, 15 years. You know, you used to think of it as a bottom machine, and now it's more like a small computer that does so many different things for you with so many different screens.
And certainly we have down imaging as well as
side
view.
Scanning. Yeah, some of the side view stuff that we've seen is unbelievable that's coming out right now.
Dave, you want to talk about
Well, we're going to talk a little bit about, we're talking about snapper fishing today, and this is the chicken rig everybody is talking about. And a couple of little tricks you use when you're building the chicken rig is you put a nice big bottom loop on the very bottom, so that when you're putting your weights on, the loop is big enough to fit over a lot of different size weights. So if you want to change out weights during the day, the tide changes, the current changes, the places you're fishing changes, the depth changes, so you can actually change out your weights without having to go through and re-rigging the whole mess. Same thing with your hooks. You can either cut, when you make a dropper rig to make 2 or 3 lines on here, you can either cut this line to make this a little longer, or you can loop it like this in case you want to change your hooks later on.
Right, so say you're using a smaller bait like a pilchard, you can go with the 6.0 or a 7.0, but if you're using a bigger bait like a blue runner or a big pinfish, you can go to a 9.0 or a 10.0.
So let me ask you, Mike, I heard Dave ask you, I'm going to steal this question from Dave.
Go ahead.
You know, you like this better.
I do.
The chicken rig over a fish finder rig,
so,
and why is that?
Well, here's the deal. If you just take this rod for a second here.
All right.
Okay. See, now put the lid right on the counter. Just set it down right there.
All right.
So once you take that lid and you set it on the counter, the lid's sitting on the bottom, all of a sudden, there's no weight between the hook and the tip of the rod. It gives you more sensitivity. So if those fish are feeding really light with this rig, just a little gentle tap, you're going to feel it. Any little bump that happens between braided line and this rig,
especially
the weight's not between the bait and the rod.
The hardest problem I have with this rig is teaching the customers not to reel when the bait's swimming around, to give it a second and let him swim a little bit, because it is that sensitive and that effective.
Yeah, because you feel every little
Everything.
thing.
180, 200 feet of water. Yeah,
and that's another thing about the snappers. You got to let them go. You know, you got to let them eat it, and groupers as well. You got to let them eat it. Got to let them eat it. Got to let them eat it. And then you just wind.
Yep.
And then you wind, and then you keep winding. Don't stop winding when that thing pulls over, then you just keep winding. You know, until the drag starts pulling out. And then you know.
Worst thing you could do is take 2 cranks, because all you've done is told him, hey, I'm here.
That's right.
You got to take like 10, 20
once you commit,
cranks.
go.
Yep.
And keep going and keep going and keep going until he's there or he's not. And you'll know pretty quick.
They always say that I'm yelling at them to keep cranking, and it's true. When they get that little bump and they start to reel, you want to just tell them, just keep reeling as fast as you can and stay on him. If you stop, The hook falls out and it's game over.
So what's your favorite bait on the chicken rig?
You know, whole squid works really, really good because what it'll do if you hook it in the tip, and when I say the tip, not the head, the opposite end.
Right.
That thing in the kernel will actually lay out, and those little tentacles breathe like that. And you don't have to worry about catching live bait and all that other stuff.
You hook it all the way up at the top of the diamond.
Right at the top, yeah. And you don't want to hook it too far down into the squid because what it'll do is it'll cause the bait to spin in the tide. You don't want it to spin. You just want it to lay nice and flat and flutter in that tide. And it's super, super effective and super easy. There's no fooling with live bait. If you're going to go with live bait, my favorite for a red snapper, hands down, is a cigar minnow. Cigar minnow. We get these huge piles of cigar minnows. We've got them offshore right now. And the way it tuned into this is we caught a red snapper, and the first thing he hacked up was 3 cigar minnows. And I'm looking at the machine. It's that big red pile that we had seen in the video earlier.
Yeah, that came off your machine.
So if you can get a hold of some cigar minnows, you're 2 steps ahead of this.
Now, do
fish.
you ever catch the bait when you're on station? When you?
It's hard because usually in those piles of bait, there's stuff feeding on it. So your sabiki rig makes it up about halfway. The best thing to do is stop inshore around a wreck or a tower, and you can use a little chum to draw the cigar minnows up to you, or you can just try a sabiki rig around the edges of the wreck in the sand, and you'll pick up cigar minnows that way.
How many of them do you like to get before you start a day?
Well, you got to remember, we got 6 guys that are fishing once a year, so I like to have at least 100. But for the regular guy, you got 2 dozen cigar minnows and a 5-pound box of squid, and you're all set.
He's done after all that crank.
Yeah, man.
Trust me, we took the office crew, and
we had a blast.
There wasn't a spot on my body that didn't have a black spot from here to here.
Is there any kind of, do you like to use braided line for everything? Is it like 30-pound braid?
I love braided line. You know, when we started off in doing this offshore fishing in the Gulf in the deeper water, we were fishing 180 feet of water with 60-pound braid, or mono, excuse me. And the problem with the mono was the stretch. We probably lost over half the fish we hooked. When we switched to braided line in the chicken rig, we started catching almost 100% of the fish that we caught.
That's lights out fishing there.
Yeah, man.
It comes tight quick.
Yeah,
hey, I'm glad you were here to keep me and Mike in
Well,
line.
you know, what can I do?
It was great. You did a great job.
You don't have to charge me for the night.
I know I learned a lot over here. We all did. Okay, let's get our Bell Central East Region Captain Jim Ross's fish catching face up here and see what we'll be fishing for this weekend. Hi, Jim.
Hey, gang, how y'all doing out there today?
Pretty good. We're learning a lot on set.
That's what we're talking about. You know, red snapper have been closed in our Atlantic federal waters for quite some time now. But in state waters, you are allowed to harvest them. Now, there's one stipulation. You can keep 2 fish per person. They have to be 20 inches or longer, but you cannot cross over into federal waters at any given time during your fishing trip. If you do, then you immediately fall under the federal regulations, and you're not allowed to possess any red snapper in federal waters, period, on the Atlantic coast of Florida. So that's one thing that you have to keep in mind, is that if you do find a spot inside, make sure that you stay inside of that 3-mile limit. Now, we do get a special 5-day open season for red snapper in federal waters on the Atlantic, July 12th, 13th, 14th, 19th, and 20th this year. During this time, anglers should be able to go out and find a decent-sized red snapper on just about any reef or wreck outside of 50 feet of water. And I've got a photo here of one that I was releasing the other day. We actually caught this one while we were slow trolling for kingfish in 70 feet of water. So you don't even have to drop. They'll come up to you and get your baits that you're slow trolling at certain times of the year. Now, speaking of king mackerel, the action's been pretty good throughout the region, from the beaches all the way to the reefs. And if you're down in the southern part of the county or the region, then you're going to find that's where you're going to find fish closer to the beach. They're going to be anywhere from about 10 feet of water out to about 40 feet of water. Up to the north, you're going to find them from about 40 feet out to about 80 feet. Now, what you want to do is you want to find where the bait pods are present, because that's where you're going to find these fish hanging around. Our average king mackerel right now is running about 12 to 18 pounds, but there's been quite a few bigger smokers coming in. In fact, some that were up to 50 pounds on this week's report. Now, swinging back inshore, we've got a bunch of different things going on inshore, but one of the things we need to tell you guys and gals about is the trout. And we have 3 different species of trout that you can target this week depending on what you want to go catch. If you want to catch speckled trout, then get a storm chug bug and swing into your nearest grass flat that's got some mullet on it. Areas like the west side of Mosquito Lagoon near the clinkers, or down in the south end of the Mosquito Lagoon, are very good choices right now. Just make sure that you're out there at first light. Now, for speckled trout and silver trout, we've been fishing the deeper sections of our lagoons, including the Intracoastal Waterway Channel. You're going to find that a live shrimp or a saltwater assassin sea shad on a 1/4 ounce jig head, especially the chartreuse jig heads, are working really well right now at this time when you can get them to bite. Now, our last species of trout is the weak fish. And normally we target these fish in the wintertime, but here in the Bell Central East region this week, we've had quite a few of them caught. And they're on our nearshore wrecks and reefs because we've had some cold water upwellings. So from 25 to 55 feet of water is where you're going to find them. Drop a live shrimp down on the slide and sinker rig or knocker rig, and you should find those fish just above the bottom, maybe 5 to 10 feet above the bottom, suspended. And I've got a photo here of one that we caught that we measured for the CCA Star Tournament when I had one of my clients out the other day. Now, my final species is snook. Now, anglers are fishing the catwalks and jetties at Sebastian Inlet right now, and they're having an excellent nighttime bite. Large storm swim baits and mullet or pogey colors are getting hammered if you fish it along the rocks. The Rapala X-Rap 14 lures in a greenback or a blackback with a silver side is another fantastic lure that you can catch the snook on. And our average snook is running about 36 to 40 inches right now. So make sure that you're using tackle that's large enough to catch those fish on if you're going to go for those fish down at Sebastian Inlet this weekend.
All right, thank you so much, Jim. Great report
Thanks,
from the
Jim.
Bells. Central East region did a good job. Love all the picks, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots. Jimmy says offshore king mackerels on the 70 to 90 foot reefs north of Canaveral using live herring on a stinger rig, and then inshore the Spanish mag near the bait pods off of Vero Beach used live pilchards rigged on a short piece of wire.
I learned so much from your rigs and techniques over there. I really did.
You did?
I did. Yeah. Dave did great too.
I think we should go catch a 40-inch snook.
Oh man,
dang,
that'd be awesome too. All right, although we're talking red snapper tonight, Rick, this fish is red too, and I'm so excited and happy to announce that CCA Star Competition has its first tagged redfish winner. Oh, whoa, that deserves a round of applause. Yeah, we'll get our audience in on that round of applause. So on Saturday on Florida's Sports Coast in Pasco County, Cliff Herring, who is a CCA member and was registered, check, of Hudson, caught a winning iHeartRadio tagged redfish. He picked up his shiny new GMC truck from Conley Buick GMC in Bradenton. So congratulations to you, Cliff. That's awesome. But guys, this means that the Contender, Pathfinder Hughes, Carolina Skiff, Relentless Aluminum Flats Boat, and $400,000 in prizes is still up for grabs, and you have 8 weeks left to fish and catch a winner. So get registered at ccafloridastar.com. And today, you could also have a chance to win a trip with one of our very own Bell's Southwest region, Captain Ronnie Houston. How about that?
How about that?
There's so many things to win with CCA. I love it. I'm so excited someone won. You have no
It's
idea, like I
awesome.
really am.
Really?
All right, we're gonna keep the excitement going here on the Florida Insider Fishing Report and checking in with our Fish Bites East region and Bell's Southwest region next. So stay hooked and we'll be back shortly.
All right.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Power Pole, Swift, Silent, Secure, Bass Assassin, and Saltwater Assassin. The best lures, period. Blue Water Outriggers, everything for your outdoor adventure. Garmin, join the club. Kubota, find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com. And Casa Vieja Lodge, 5-star angling in beautiful Guatemala.
I'm Captain Rick Murphy, and I'm a life member of CCA. Why am I so involved with CCA, you ask? Because I want our fisheries to be in better shape for my kids and their kids. CCA is working to ensure the future of recreational fisheries and the rights of recreational anglers. The future of fishing starts today with you. How do you want to leave things with your kids? If you're like me, you'll want to make the right choice and go to joinccaflorida.com right now.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck Warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Real Legends Performance Clothing. Everything you need to be comfortable on the water all day long. Keeps you cool, dry, and protected from the sun. durable performance technology at an unbeatable value. Shop anytime or go to reallegends.com to find a Bell store near you.
I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and there's no place I'd rather be. I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere, and time don't matter to me, 'cause I'm 1,000 miles from nowhere.
Welcome back, and if you would like to be a part of our live studio audience, such as this wonderful one we have here, you can sign up for future dates at our website at FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com. We have a lot of fun, and we get lots of free stuff.
Somebody won the truck, the
Somebody
CCA
did.
Star truck. It's
What?
just somebody won.
Really?
Yeah, you just caught a tagged redfish. How cool is that?
That is so cool.
I think you're excited about it.
I was excited until you made it really weird. Don't make fun of my excitement. I'm really excited. All right.
Until
and
I made
maybe
it really weird.
You just make it really weird. It may be summertime, but in the Fish Bites East region, Captain Mike Holliday says the red snapper action happens on the deeper reefs where they'll look like Christmas trees on your bottom machine. So tell us more, Holliday.
That's how it is, Brie. You know, the best red snapper action in my region. It seems like it's on the northern end, but that's kind of where most of the reef is. That 120 to 180 foot reef runs all the way up the entire East Coast. Off Stewart, you can find fish on the 6 mile reef, but it's really that 8 mile reef that's the one that seems to have the best red snapper population on it. You'll also find them on the deeper artificial reefs like the Wickstrom and the Mullifin. And on Fort Pierce, if you get inside the closed area of the Ocalina Bank, so actually outside of the closed area, in the open area west of the Ocalina Bank, that's really good for red snapper this time of the year in particular. That's like 160 to 170, that depth. When they're schooled up, red snapper are pretty much easy to mark. Like you said, they look like a Christmas tree on your bottom machine. You can target them with live or dead thread fins, mullet, pilchard, squid. A live goggle eye is good for the big ones, or a live grunt. They'll also eat like a jig and bonita strip, or a jig and a whole ballyhoo combination, or even, you know, some of the jigging spoons like a blue or pink Williamson abyss spoon. Average red snapper in the region is going to be like 8 to 15 pounds. I do have a photo there. That's Glenn Cameron and Cody Bates. They caught that jumbo red snapper on the 8 mile reef off Stewart. That fish ate a log goggle eye. The other thing, the best bite in blue water right now is from sailfish. It's in that 50 to 150 feet of water depth, anywhere from Jupiter all the way up to Fort Pierce. I mean, they saw some free jumping from the inlet buoy in front of Stewart today. So the sails are really spread out, but they're all over the bait. If you find the bait, you find the fish. They've been working the rips and current edges around the artificial reefs. There's been a lot of free jumpers. If you see one, run right to where you saw that fish, put out your baits. We did that during the CCA Interchapter Challenge on Saturday and caught one right away. For baits, live pilchards, thread fins, sardines, or goggle eyes, either drifted, slow trolled. You can put them out on a kite. That's going to get you a lot of attention. You can troll ballyhoo with a blue and white or a pink skirt. The sails right now are pretty big, so you want to use 30-pound tackle. Average fish is in that 40 to 50-pound range.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Well, the tarpon migration's in full swing along the beaches, but the bass bite has been, the bite's been kind of weird, you know. The fish have been very cooperative one day, then the next day they're just not biting at all. It's kind of weird. Very hard to put your thumb on it. The fish are pushing through pretty much every day. They're stopping around the inlets at night. There's also strong bites going on from the resident fish in the Loxahatchee River, the north and south forks of the St. Lucie River, and in the Indian River around Big and Little Mud Creeks. Those inshore resident fish, they've been feeding from dawn to about 9 o'clock in the morning. You target the beach fish with pilchards or crabs. You can throw dark-colored flies like purple and black or red and black. You throw them at first light or on overcast days, then go to the lighter-colored flies like a chartreuse toad or a lemon drop, something brighter in the middle of the day. Live mullet, either drifted or trolled. Those will work really well on the inshore fish, as will a Houdini-colored saltwater assassin 4-inch sea shad. See the fish roll, throw right to that spot, work it very slowly, you'll get the bite. Average tarpon right now is anywhere from 40 to 100 pounds. There's also, you know, if you're into catch and release fishing, this is a time to head to one of the local beaches, grab a light spinning rod or a fly rod. You can target those snook that are swimming in the trough. Places like the jetty near MacArthur Park, Hope Sound Wildlife Refuge, Normandy Beach, the south side of the South Jetty Park in Fort Pierce. All those areas are covered up with snook of all sizes. You don't need to be on the water at dawn. In fact, you kind of see them better from 10 in the morning to like 3 in the afternoon. But at dawn, you're going to be blind casting, just working your bait down the trough. And then with the rains we've had in the last week, there's been a lot of fish around the spillways in Jupiter and also the spillways in Port St. Lucie. Those are good places to be at dawn and also after it rains or anytime they're releasing fish or releasing water over the spillway. When the water's running, you can throw big jigs, you can throw swimming plugs, you can use live shiners or a Mayan cichlid if you can catch one. Average snook right now is going to be anywhere from 5 to 15 pounds. I got a photo of a snook there. That's Nicole Badette. She caught her first snook on fly. She caught that fish at the St. Lucie Inlet, and that fish ate an all-white polar fiber minnow.
All right, I know that bass fishing has been pretty good. So what have you heard, Hollywood?
Yeah, you know what? Okeechobee's just amazing. If you live within an hour of Lake Okeechobee, right now you can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, run over to the lake, catch 20 or 25 bass, be off the water by 8 o'clock, and make it to work on time. You know, and that's just amazing to me. The bass bite in the first hour or two of light is nothing short of just crazy good. Target the Kissimmee grass bed and the outside grass lines on the western side of the lake from the Clewiston Tower all the way up to Observation Shoal. The fish are feeding on shad, so you want to throw topwater plugs, spinnerbaits, or swim baits in the shad colors at that dawn bite. Now, once the sun gets up, it's time to grind it out on those isolated bulrush clumps. That's where your big fish are going to come. If the water's clear, you want to flip or pitch the base of those bulrush clumps with a June bug and pearl skunk ape. If the water's dirty, go to that watermelon red glitter colored skunk ape. You can also fish live shiners in the same spots, but you're just going to kind of pick away at the fish. They're going to be bigger, and you have to move a bunch. Average bass on the lake right now is 1 to 3 pounds. I have a photo there. That's Ron and Brian Schoner with bass to 8.5 pounds. They caught with Captain Nate Shellen, and those fish all ate live shiners.
Nice. All right, thank you. Great report, Hollywood. We appreciate it very much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the TH Marine hotspots from the East region. He says inshore, catch and release snook, whiting, croaker, and pompano at Hobe Sound Beach. Use live pilchards and sand fleas or shrimp-scented fish bite strips to catch those guys. And then offshore, kingfish around the Spanish sardine schools at the sand pile off of Stewart. Use live sardines on a wire stinger rig, Brie.
Where are your fish bite snacks? You normally have one right about now, just chomping on one.
I'm on a diet.
Oh.
I'm trying to lose a little.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's see how our Bell Southwest region captain, Ronnie Houston, is making the red snapper bite happen. Let's hear how it's done, Ronnie.
Well, Bree, I can tell you right now, the red snapper fishing in the Bell Southwest region is on fire right now, as Mr. Murphy would know. You know, they can be caught throughout the whole region, but there are only certain times of the year you can possess them, with now being the time. You know, the season just opened a couple weeks ago, and with the reports I am receiving, guys are catching them starting at depths of about 120 feet. You know, the fish are a little bit smaller. You might have to work for them, but Captain Mike Avenant has been telling me he has been steadily working the 150 to 170 depths. But then also Captain Corey McGuire to the north, the depths are just a little different, 140 to 180. Now, Mike Avenant's to the south, Captain Corey's to the north. Now, even though these guys have marked spots, it seems once they get in an area and find the fish, as they're going from spot to spot, they're still scanning the bottom. They're not actually getting to their marked areas to catch these fish. They're catching them before, so what I'm telling you is, according to what they both tell me, once you get in an area and start finding them, they're really not too far behind. They continue to watch their bottom finder, and you will find these fish raised up off the bottom. They're telling me 60 to 80-pound fluorocarbons, 6 to 10 ounces of weight is going to be very important depending upon the current. And good moving water seems to be the key for a really good bite. Now, baits of choice varies from live sardines, pinfish, grunts, and cut baits like mullet strips, as well as bonita, herring, sardines, and squid. But it's always good to alternate the baits just to see what the bigger fish might be reacting to. And I've got a picture of a quick limit in the back of Mike Avenant's contender on a recent trip I just went on. So those are the size red snappers you usually can come upon. Now, still on the offshore side, the gag groupers. Captain Corey McGuire to the north reports, the gag grouper bite has been getting better in the last few days. Now, he's telling me the key depth he's working is 125 to about 145 feet. But he's telling me for this, instead of using cut baits, he says, the key to this, to catching the gags, is going to be the live pinfish and squirrelfish, and he's telling me he's specifically targeting ledges. Now, cut baits have been the ticket for the red groupers. I suggest if you're looking for the gags and the bigger gags, live bait is going to be the best. And I'm going to a picture of a fish just recently caught up in the northern end. Nice gag grouper caught with Captain Corey McGuire. Now, on the inshore side, the tarpons. Captain Denny Latham still says plenty of opportunity from Fort Myers Beach to Stump Pass. The passes and the beaches out to 25 foot of depth. He's telling me live crabs and herring free-lined are under a cork. But he's also telling me that there's plenty of juvenile tarpon in the upper part of the harbor. Maybe the Cattle Point Dock area, the El Jabin area, the Tippecanoe area, and the east side of I-75. Now, a lot of these tarpon will eat artificials, whether it be flies, topwater plugs, chuggers, prop baits, and 4 to 6 inch swim baits. And I got a nice picture of a recent tarpon release while fishing with Captain Denny Latham. Now, the snook bite has been steady on the beaches throughout the region, especially on the higher stages of the tide. Live pilchards, white bucktails, silver spoons, and subsurface plugs that go anywhere from 6 inches to 2 foot in depth, especially around the bait schools, especially the small bait schools that are showing up all along the beaches on the outer Gulf Coast. But down to the south, from Jack Daniels Key to Mormon Key, these areas the fish are showing up with an abundance of bait daily, and schools of fish are setting up in these areas, and the fish right now are in a variety of sizes. For some of those fish, you want to use live pilchards and finger mullet, but don't discount the artificials. I specifically fish a lot of artificials like the Rapala skitterwalks and the subsurface twitch and mullet in white or olive, as well as the bass assassin 5-inch shad in white or baby bass in color. And I got a recent picture of a trip I just took with a couple of nice snook, one with Chris Anderson and one with myself with some nice oversized snook just recently caught down in the southern end of the river.
Well, Midnight, just like always, you delivered. Thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Caddy Can Southwest hotspots. He says inshore redfish in Matlacha, Indian Field, Buzzards Bay on the higher stages of the tide using pinfish, cut mullet, and ladyfish chunks in the mangroves. And then offshore, permit Naples to Fort Myers Beach fishing the wrecks and artificial reefs 8 to 20 miles out using a live crab. Little crab.
Okay.
Little crabby.
Okay.
Crabby.
All right. Well, I remember that one time you put that dead crab in my pocket and I found it like 2 months later. It smelled great. All right, it's summer, which means the kids are out of school and ready to fish, which we found out last week, Rick. The North Miami Police is hosting a Cops and Kids Fishing Day. Join North Miami's finest for a fun day of fishing, June 29th, which is this Saturday from 8 to 11 a.m. at North Bayshore William Lamont Park. Baked refreshments and a limited supply of fishing rods will be provided, so if you have your own fishing pole, please bring it along, and they hope to see you there. BYOP. Bring your own fishing pole.
Oh,
well,
that
FP,
was
I guess.
good. Pretty
Thanks.
good.
All right, we're checking out the bite in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region next, but first, we're seeing what kind of new product goodies Dave has for us at the CC Workbench. I see you waving around.
Yep, we got a good dredge. This is a great dredge idea for the fellows who have a center console boat. So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit. Really cool.
So I know
really cool
who's
idea.
going home with that.
Oh, yeah. Rick is.
No.
I got a new center console in
we'll
my
be back.
house.
You steal everything.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. For all, for less. Soft Science, Supreme Comfort Footwear. Real Legends, exclusively at Bell's. Okuma, Inspired Fishing. Discover Crystal River, Florida. And Maverick Boat Group, makers of premium boat brands Maverick, Hughes, Pathfinder, and Cobia.
Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 offshore 4-strokes. For those that like their V6 lighter, faster, and stronger. Setting new standards for power, efficiency, speed, and lightweight. Built for the rigors of offshore boating. Packed with Yamaha's legendary reliability. And now Yamaha's 4.2-liter V6 4-strokes offer a choice between digital or mechanical controls to match your rigging preference. Yamaha. Reliability starts here.
you aim a 36-yard shot with a 30-yard fixed pin at a 15-degree angle with a 7-inch holdover without moving a single pin? Easy. You get one of these. Zero, the auto-ranging digital bow sight from Garmin.
So guys, check out what Starbright has sent me. It's called Salt Off. And the reason why I like it is anything that potentially has the ability to corrode, any metal products, I'm gonna spray with Salt Off. And it's really simple how it works. I'm just gonna spray it on any metal parts, the parts on the reels that are actually moving. I like spraying it where the guides and the threads meet, because that's where corrosion has a tendency to break down the threads on the guides. I'm gonna leave it on there for 10 minutes. I throw all my power pole fittings, spraying it on my buckle, all on the trailer. Look at the fenders here. We leave it on there for 10 minutes. Also, the cool part about this stuff is it gives you, after you rinse it off and let it dry, it creates a protective barrier against corrosion. They also have a salt-off concentrated engine kit, or you can use it for spraying down your trailer at the end of the day. Comes with this canister, as well as this adapter to go on your engine flush mount. And all I gotta do is screw this in. I don't even have to run the engine, but what I'm doing is I'm flushing out the engine using this concentrate, and I'm actually treating the inside of all the moving metal parts. Look at this stuff is coming out on the concrete there, and you can see that it's actually treating the inside of my motor. Again, it's so easy to use. It's Salt Off, and you just simply spray it on there, wait 10 minutes, rinse it off, and just naturally let it dry. Remember, Starbright creates a whole bunch of products that's made specifically for boat maintenance. So, your next consideration, check out Starbright stuff. So that's some cool stuff, huh, Dave?
Yep.
But
sure
not
was.
as cool as what we got here at the CCA workbench.
Well, you know, this is pretty cool stuff.
No, that's stuff. When it comes to protecting everything,
I know.
It's the bomb.
I know. I love it. All right, here we go. We're going to start off with these Smith's saltwater knives. These guys are just getting into the saltwater knife business. They've been making and sharpening tools and stuff like that since 1886, but now they're making these knives. These are stainless steel knives, and they're coated with a stuff called Xylon, which is very, it's like almost like a Teflon, but not quite as expensive. It's just really slick and a good protective coating, even for a stainless steel knife. And I don't know if you've felt that thing, but it is razor sharp. That is the La Waya, and that's the 9-inch, I believe. We also have the 7-inch there that comes in 7-inch, and then we also have a bait breaker knife. It's just a cool little bait knife with a line cutter on the back and a serrated edge in case you had to crack something open. Again, these all have really nice rubber handles, big handle so you can get a good grip, and guards for your fingers. Really nice knives from Smith's.
So a mate would want to have this because obviously if he gets yanked out by a blue
You're usually going to have a pair of
shark,
pliers, but if you can't get a hold of your pliers, you want to have a knife too. So it's always good to have a line cutter for correct.
Nice. Good job, guys.
Smith's knives. Really good
really
stuff.
Impressed.
Next, we got these. These are fire tails. They're on this dredge right here. But as you can see, these are a silhouette artificial dredge bait, and a lot of guys insist they like to have natural baits on their dredge. Well, I can tell you, no fish has ever smelled a dredge. All these sailfish and marlin, they don't use their nose and taste buds when they get up behind a dredge. They're on it because they see it. They're using their eyeballs, and that's a big bait ball. And what's great about these firetail dredge baits is that they're really streamlined. They don't weigh a whole lot, so they're not weighing down a dredge. You can load a ton of them on a dredge, and if you have a little center console boat, you don't have to get a LP or a whole lot of stuff to pull these things out of the water. That's a big downside to dredges, is usually when you got them loaded up with mullets and ballyhoos with all weights and an ounce weight on each one of them, it becomes a real heavy thing to pull in and out of the water. Well, these firetails keeps you from doing that, and they swim like crazy. If you go to firetails.com, Tailz, firetails.com, and go and watch these things swim, it's amazing how well they swim, and they'll last forever. As you can tell, they're made out of like the vinyl on a seat cushion. So this is what they used to make skirts out on lures. So those things will last forever. Next, you got me. Next, we got a T&H Marine. This is called the Tackle Titan, and what it is, it's a magnetic rack that you can mount on your boat. So when you want to put your lures away or hang them up during the day when you're changing lures, you don't have to go and drop them back in the box. You can just hang them on here, and it'll keep them out of the way while you're fishing. When you mount it, it also has this little ledge here is magnetized, so you can put hooks and stuff on top, and it's
you
real
also
easy.
have the magnets here in the corners.
You can either mount it with screws, or it comes with the double-sided tape, that real strong tape they've got nowadays.
And it comes in different colors, we got the black and the white here as a sample.
Right. Next, we got these Costa hats. Costa is really making a big push in the clothing market, and these are really some nice hats that they've come out. One size fits all. They're a regular fit hat, and they have the plastic on the back so that you can go ahead and adjust it to whatever size. They're 5-panel with the foam front, kind of like the old styles, in the 70s and the late 70s and early 80s.
What's this one called?
That one there is called the Real Tree Fishing, and that is the Baja Stripe. And then they have the Mossy Oak there, then the blue, and the Stealth Dorado hat, and the last but not least is the Costa Chambray, and that comes with a nice big logo on there.
Absolutely. See a lot of people wearing Costas.
Very good stuff, Very good. They make good products. So.
Yep. Speaking of good stuff, Brie, you are it. So go ahead.
With the most as well. Thanks, Rick. Okay, Captain Jeff Hageman in the Discover Crystal River Northwest region has just what you need to hear if red snapper is your game plan for the weekend. So, Hag, tell us.
We've got them throughout our whole region, and we've got a ton of them in my region. From 70 to 280 feet is where you're going to find biggest concentrations right now. Any high relief structure like rock piles, wrecks, artificial reefs, they're going to be in big schools. Pinfish, cut sardines, cut squid, all great baits. Either a knocker rig or a standard bottom rig works good. They're not really picky eaters, so once you get on them, like I said, it's going to be huge schools. Most of your bigger fish, and I stress this a lot when I do my reports, most of the bigger American Reds are going to be on top of the smaller ones. So usually when I make a drop, I'll look at my spool and tell where it's at and crank up to that. And then on the next drop, when I drop down, catch another one, I can drop down right on top of that and try and stay in those bigger fish so you can get those bigger keepers. Bottom machine's going to light up really good. You're going to pull these, once you catch one or two, you're going to pull them right off the bottom, and they'll come up high off the column. You want to always remember to keep that vent tool handy for those smaller fish you're going to release and those unwanted fish. And I've got a couple great photos of some ARSs.
Nice.
Some good ones right there.
That dude on the right, he looks like he's a little bit soft. He needs to get in the gym.
Rick,
you think?
The fish.
Oh, the fish. He didn't put the snapper in the ice right away and tighten it up.
Oh, my Lord.
A guy's going to call me and want to whoop my booty. All right, tell me about the groupers, Papa.
The grouper bite really good right now, and 80 to 200 feet plus of water. Right now, we're rock piles and ledges. Start off, you want to fish cut baits. Get them fired up. Cut sardines, work really good. Cut Boston mackerel, another great bait. Once the bait kind of slows down, get them fired back up, drop those live baits down. Pigfish, pinfish are all great baits, and that'll get them fired up again. The limits have been fairly easy to obtain right now, and as this summer heats up and it's getting hotter and hotter every day, the fish are going to move deeper. So if you're not catching them, move out a little deeper, and you're going to find them there. Moving inshore, Captain Mario Costello of Talateo Charters out of the Plantation Inn on Crystal River reports a good redfish bite right now on the Mangrove Islands and Keys from Yankeetown to Homosassa. He's working the Mangrove Islands that have active mullet schools around the points and around the coves and any overhanging mangrove branches. He's using mostly pinfish and select shrimp on an 1/8-ounce jig head on the middle of the incoming tide, and most of the redfish in his area have been anywhere from 25 to 32 inches. Moving all the way up north to northern part of my region, Captain John Lane with JB Charters reports out of Apalachicola, the bull redfish bite right now is doing good, and the passes, mainly on the flip of the tide, has been best. He's using live greenbacks with a 2/0 mustad hook, 3/4 ounce lead, and 12 inches of 30-pound fluorocarbon leader. Moving down the coast, Captain Jimbo Keith of Saltwater Assassin Fishing Charters in Cedar Key reports the redfish bite has been best on the incoming tide around the outer islands, Gold spoons and swim baits have been working better than cut bait right now, he says. And the Bass Assassin Little Boss rig on a 1/4-ounce Bass Assassin jig head is hard to beat. Going down the Tarpon Springs area in Ozona, Captain Jimmy Huddleston of Captain Hud reports a great bite right now. The snook bite's still going off. Right now they're getting ready to do their spawn thing, so the switch of the tide's been best. The water starts moving quickly, and they're out there ambushing baits. You want to use pinfish, and large pinfish and croakers, 2-ounce lead, slip sinker when that tide starts running strong, and use a 40-pound leader to get them out of the structures. You also want to concentrate around the jetties and beach points for most productivity. And I've got a great fish here from Captain Jimmy.
Wow.
That's a stud right there.
That is a stud. Yeah. Way to go, Hag. Thanks for great pictures this week. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the Anytime sunscreen and mosquito repellent hotspots from the Northwest region. He says inshore, tarpon along the beaches, passes, and grass flats use pinfish, crabs, threadfin herring, free line, or corked for bait. And then offshore, gag groupers on the rock piles and ledges, 75 to 130 feet of water use pinfish, pigfish for bait on a standard bottom rig.
Okay, anglers, coming right up, we're taking you down to the Garmin Keys and the Strike Zone Northeast regions when we come back. But before we go, we want to remind you that if you want to be up to date on all things fishing in Florida, make sure to visit our website, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, watch us on YouTube, and check us out on Instagram. We'll be right back.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Rapala, another great day. Startron, cures and prevents ethanol fuel problems. Yeti, built for the wild. CCA Florida, the voice of recreational anglers for over 30 years. Ameritrail, load, launch, relax. And Strike Zone Fishing.
Titan and Titan XD Diesel from Harbor Trucks has America's best truck warranty, 5 years, 100,000-mile bumper-to-bumper, and can tow up to 12,000 pounds. Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of Titan XD and Titan in Florida, starting at $29,000. Harbor Trucks is conveniently located halfway between Tampa and Naples. Harbor Trucks, the place to buy.
Oh, there it is. You can either stay busy fishing or get busy catching. From Texas to Tampa Bay or Key West to the Carolinas and beyond. For nearly 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing, that nothing says no to fish bites. Ask for Fish Bites and Fish Bites Fight Club lures by name or visit fishbites.com.
Find Florida's soul and discover Crystal River. Explore warm Gulf waters, spring-fed rivers, bountiful lakes, and fantastic fishing. Dive into adventure and enjoy the only place in the world where you can swim with the manatees. Treat yourself and your family to outdoor fun, rich history, and a relaxed coastal lifestyle. Discover Crystal River, Florida.
Welcome back, ladies and gents. We talk about it every week, but Harbor Trucks, which is what we're standing in front of, it's so beautiful, has partnered with Casa Vieja Lodge. And remember that 2 lucky winners will get a 4-day, 3-night trip to come fish in Guatemala with Rick and I at Casa Vieja Lodge. So make sure to head over to our website at FloridaInsiderFishingReport.com to enter. Rick, that is going to be one fun trip.
Can we go like now?
Now?
Finish the show and then we'll go.
All right. We're getting on a plane.
All right.
But you need to enter, so you can come with us.
Yeah.
All right, the Garmin Keys region is swimming amongst us now, and Captain Randy Tao is on the line to tell us how to get a red snapper on the end of your line. Hey, Randy.
Hey, good evening, fish fans. You know, here in the Garmin Keys region, genuine red snappers are a specific snapper, not a mutton, not a mangrove snapper. They're actually a red snapper, and we call them genuines. We find them around the upper Keys, And usually out in the deeper wrecks and rocky bottoms and stuff, while you're mutton fishing, you'll come up with some red snappers at times. And then down off of Key West and also in the Gulf, they have areas where they can really go target specifically red snappers a lot better than we can up here. Now, you kind of fish the same way you would fish for a mutton snapper, long leader, not real long, 20 feet, and enough lead to hold the bottom. A live bait like a cigar minnow, a pilchard, works really well. And that's what you would do. You'd fish around structure, not necessarily on it, but around it. These fish are going to lay away from the structure. And I know guys like Captain Chris Trossett in Key West. He'll target genuine red snappers. He even catches them on fly and light tackle a lot of times. And I was talking to him about it, and he sent me a photo of his angler, Robbie, with a nice genuine they caught recently off of Key West.
Look at that smile. Awesome. Hey, Randy, you caught any dolphins since I was last with you?
You're killing me with these dolphins. I'll tell you what, everybody's dolphin fishing. Everybody's talking about dolphin. We've got nothing but dolphin. Everywhere you go, there's dolphin. And, you know, it's just the way it is. It's hot to go right now. The weather's beautiful. It's calm. It's flat. Guys are going in skiffs. Guys are going in big boats. Now, here's the trick. It's a morning thing right now because it gets so hot during the middle of the day. So you want to get on the water early. And I've found them in the last few days from 600 feet all the way out to 1,500 feet. So it really depends what you're trying to find. Now, I didn't find very many big fish in shallow. The better fish for me was out in about 1,100 feet. Now, they're still on birds, and you really want to take advantage of any set of birds you see, whether they're traveling to the east, which is with the current, or they're traveling to the southwest against the current. They're all on fish. They might be schoolies, and they might be 20-pounders. You never know. So don't pass any up if you run into the birds, because they're really holding them right now. And a lot of the weed lines out there are starting to form up right now. Instead of being real scattered, we're starting to find some of these weed clumps getting a little closer together. And some of the birds or the dolphin are starting to get under the weeds, which is a great thing. And this time of year, especially July, we find a lot of our fish on the weed line. So really pay attention once you start to get out there and be ready. I've got a photo of Adrienne with her big bull dolphin she caught with me a couple days ago out in that 1,100 feet of water.
That's a nice one. All right, we want to go a little shallower. You got any reports about snook or anything else?
Absolutely. You know, the snook fishing's been great because I've been dolphin fishing. So around the Flamingo area and out to the west has been good for guys. I see the pictures, I hear the reports, I just shake my head. But that's just the way it is. This time of year, I love June, July fishing for snook, especially some of the bigger ones are showing up right now. And there's a reason, there's a season right now to let these big snook go. Now, if you want to get up on the flats, they're not really getting on the flats right now because the water temperature is getting really hot middle of the day, and you also have an outgoing tide. So they've been along the edges. They've been along shorelines. They've been on some creek mouths and things like that in the beaches. So live bait works great. Pinfish pilchards are going to do a good job for you. And I recommend going back there also early because that water temperature gets hot during the middle of the day. Pablo Rodriguez sent me a picture. He has been on fire lately catching everything that swims. And he's got a picture of Ashley Bottas with her nice snook she caught fishing with him.
All right, what else you got for us in the Florida Keys region, bub?
You know, the redfish kind of just get mixed in with everything else. Your snook fishing, you could catch a red, you could catch a snook, you never know. They live together this time of year. So a lot of the areas that guys are fishing, the edges of the channels or runoffs, some of the mangrove islands, are holding some nice redfish now. So redfish really seem to like the hotter months right now, and guys are getting into them pretty good. Some nice fish. I've seen some 30, 32-inch redfish being caught. Not so much in real shallow water, but certainly along the edges. And when you've got that incoming tide in the morning like we've had, it's been pretty good. Talking to Captain Mike Alfano, he's an Alamorada backcountry guide here. He sent me this picture of his angler, Cha-Cha, from Texas with her redfish.
All right, well, way to go, Cha-Cha. It's too bad you couldn't catch one of those in Texas. Maybe we can get that for the Texas show next week.
Yeah.
But anyway, thank you so much. We're going to go ahead and look at the hot spots from the Florida Keys region. He says, inshore bonefish, didn't even talk about it in his report. Fished the bays on the rising tide in the morning or fished the last 2 hours before sunset. And then offshore, dolphin Leave at first light, find the birds, be prepared. The live bait is going to be a big bonus if you want to get a big one.
I want my name to be Cha-Cha.
Yeah?
I think that'd be
Okay,
pretty cool.
Cha-Cha.
Cha-Cha. All right, let's now take a look at some tournaments going on in the Florida Keys. Anglers target 43 species of fish at the Key West Fishing Tournament, a free entry multi-division challenge that continues through August 31st. Catches and witness releases can be entered at several tackle shops throughout the Lower Keys and Key West or at the tournament's website. The Del Brown Permit Tournament, July 13th through the 16th in Key West, honors the late Keys angler Del Brown, who caught and released 513 permit on fly. The event helps the Bonefish and Tarpon Trust. The Stock Island Marina Village Key West Marlin Tournament, scheduled for July 17th through the 20th, features $50,000 in cash prizes and coincides with the Key West annual Hemingway Days Festival. Key West Robert James Slam Tournament, set for September 6th through the 8th, targets tarpon, permit, and bonefish, so anglers can aim for the coveted Flats Grand Slam. The event raises funds for cystic fibrosis treatment and research. So for more information on all tournaments in the Florida Keys, it's available at flakeys.com. But now a little bit more information on the Key West Marlin Tournament, taking place July 17th through the 20th, where you can win $50,000 in guaranteed cash prizes coinciding with the annual Hemingway Days celebration. The entry is limited to the first 75 boats, so make sure you register at keywestmarlin.com. And now our Strike Zone Northeast Region captain is with us, FaceTime to FaceTime. So Captain Tommy Derringer, get us excited about the weekend.
Tommy, you think it's okay for her to be Cha-Cha?
Cha-Cha.
Cha-Cha.
I don't know anything about the Cha-Cha. I know nothing about Cha-Cha.
It's my name. It's my new name.
You know, Brie, you're talking about being excited for the weekend, but you know what? I don't know anybody that's more excited to get out there and catch and actually be able to keep a few red snapper than the anglers here in the Strike Zone Northeast region. You know, we're really looking forward to that short season. It is a short one, but at least it is a season that we have coming up next month. Now, there's an absolute ton of red snapper on just about any type of structure from about 65 feet and out, although a lot of those bigger fish do tend to come out from a little deeper. Now, the usual frozen baits like sardines, herring, and cigar minnows, they're going to work well, but if you can find some live stuff, those live cigar minnows or sardines, or even use some pinfish, you're probably going to get the quicker and better bite. Now, Captain Jimmy Laidler from thelegendfishing.com, he tells me that if you're really looking to get a big red snapper, you're going to want to put one of those live baits on a flat line or free line them out there. Those big fish, you know, they've been caught before. They're pretty schooled on what's going on, so free line is going to be the way to go to get one of those big ones. When the season does open up, you know what, guys, it's going to be crowded out there. So be kind to your fellow anglers, give each other plenty of room, you know, and you're also going to want to double check the regulations before you go. The FWC is going to be out there in big numbers, making sure that things go as smooth as possible, and you're probably going to get checked. So make sure you know what's going on. I've got a picture here. Captain Jimmy sent me this picture of Josh Flam with a huge genuine red snapper he caught aboard the Legendary earlier this week.
Whoa.
Blam, blam.
All right, what
It's a
else
big
you
one.
got?
So, you know what? The kingfish bite, guys, it's still going off, but, you know, I'm going to give them a little break this week. I'm actually going to talk about the sailfish bite that we have going on this week out of St. Augustine. The guys that have been out at 4 Mile and 9 Mile have been catching quite a few just as a bycatch while they're trolling around for kingfish. But, you know, there's also been a really nice rip line just a few miles east of the 9 Mile Reef that's holding quite a few sailfish. Captain Jimmy Laither tells me again, he's been hooking between 7 to 10 sailfish a trip last week in that area. He's just pulling naked ballyhoo and he's looking for that nice break in the water. Jimmy says those sails are running about 25 to 30 pounds. Those things are super fun on some light tackle. Now, moving inshore, guys, we've got that perfect redfish tide again this weekend. That early morning outgoing tide is really great this time of year because the redfish are going to be feeding on the edges of the grass lines and the oyster bars early before it gets too hot out. It's a perfect time to bust out that Rapala skitter walk or the skitter V. Now, if you toss those plugs down a grass line with the bait, a grass line that has some bait on it during the first hour of light, you're going to find some hungry redfish. Later in the morning, as the tide drops out, the redfish have been staging up along the edges of the ICW. Target the shell bars that are right along or right adjacent to a steeper drop-off. And we've had some really great redfish days this week, fishing those areas with either a live shrimp or a mud meadow on a 1/4 ounce jig head. If live bait isn't your thing, you know, a saltwater assassin, Lil Boss, in golden brim, rigged on a 1/4 ounce jig head, and then just drag that thing really slow on the bottom. That's also been working really well for those deeper water redfish. Now, I've got another picture. Captain Shane Stover from InShoreAdventures.net sent me this picture of his client Jordan with one of those early morning redfish, and you can see that her husband is actually hooked up to another big redfish in the background there.
Nice. All of your photos have background hookups. I like it.
You know, guys, the tarpon, they're here in good numbers right now along the beaches. Out there, look for busting fish in the pogie pods and behind the shrimp boats in their bycatch slicks. Now, for tackle-wise, I like to use a heavy spinning rod with 40-pound Suffix 832 braid to a 40 to 60-pound Suffix Invisalign fluorocarbon leader. Now, my absolute favorite tarpon hook, it's one that Rick and Jim Ross turned me on to. It's the 7385 VMC, and I'm going to use a 6 to 10-aught depending on the bait size. Those tarpon, they're feeding early in the morning and then late in the day, especially if you can get out right after one of those afternoon thunderstorms. It really seems to get them fired up. Now, on days where the pogies are hard to find, which has been a lot of the time here lately, your best bet's going to be going behind the shrimp boats or along the rip lines at the inlets. Now, pogies here one day and gone the next. Grab some big inshore before you get out there along the beach, just in case. And guys, I've got one last picture here. Captain Colin Phillips sent me this picture of himself with a big Northeast Florida tarpon that he caught right there along the Jacksonville beach.
That's an understatement, Tommy. That is a big one. That is a monster one, dude. Do you have any idea how big that fish was?
He didn't tell me, but we've got some big ones showing up here this year. I mean, bigger than average. Probably a lot of fish out there are over 100 pounds easy. So it's been a good year so far.
Well, that's awesome. Make sure you enjoy. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the hot spots from the Strike Zone Northeast region. Tommy says inshore, the tarpon are in the pogie pods and behind the shrimp boats from Jacksonville Beach to Flagler Beach. The best bite has been early in the morning and then again right before dark or after maybe a thunderstorm. And then offshore, mangrove snapper, 115 to 140 foot depths on the reefs and ledges. Chum them up with the sardines or maybe try a pogie. You're dropping your Yeti over there.
I'm dropping my Yeti.
It matches your shirt, so it's okay.
It's okay as long as we're matching, right?
Party foul. It's okay.
Party foul, yes. We have one more region to fish in the Casa Vieja Southeast region, so stay with us, and we'll be back right here on the Florida Insider
Fishing Report.
Don't drop your Yeti. Don't drop your Yeti. It's never good.
The Florida Insider Fishing Report is brought to you by Harbor Trucks. Visit harbortrucks.com. Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Suffix. Always use the best line. The IGFA. Fish for the world. Sportsman's Adventures. Fishing for adventure. And Bells. Everything you need to live life local.
An entirely new species of extreme predator is moving offshore. The Yamaha 5.6-liter V8 XTO offshore outboard. Extreme big block thrust and power in the industry's first direct injection 4-stroke. Quiet, efficient, powerful, and proven Yamaha reliability. More than an outboard, it's a fully integrated power system. The all-new Yamaha V8 XTO offshore.
Out here, you need the power to control your environment, or it may control you. The power of the Kubota L2501DT. It comes with all the easy-to-use implements you need, and the kind of comfort that delivers a satisfied smile all day long. Get the L2501DT for as low as $139 a month with 0% APR financing for 84 months, plus a 6-year warranty.
Find a Kubota dealer near you at gokubota.com.
Remember the glory days of gasoline? It's just not made the same anymore.
Kick your gas into gear with StarTron. Pump up the performance in all of your engines. Cure the problems of ethanol with the power of enzymes. And maximize your mileage every time you drive. Kickstart your engines with StarTron.
Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of new and used car and truck inventory in Southwest Florida. Our used vehicle inventory goes through a 120-point inspection process performed by certified technicians. Exclusive to Florida Insider Fishing Report viewers is our Peace of Mind Harbor Truck warranty. If you don't see what you're looking for, give us a call and we can get it for you. Go to harbortrucks.com and click on the Florida Insider Fishing Report tab.
Today's Power Pole tip of the week is about, does the power pole add a lot of weight to the transom of the boat? And simply, guys, it doesn't. Now we're talking about a bracket that weighs anywhere between 5 and 7 pounds, and depending on the model that you get, our micro is 7 with the blade, 10-foot blade, being 27 pounds. So simply, we're not going to add a lot of weight. You're not going to change the draft of the boat. You're not going to have to re-prop your boat. And more importantly, the pumps have been mounted in the floor so that they're out of the way and not on the transom. So many times when we add weight to the boat, it affects the performance, and that's not going to happen by adding 2 power poles. So if you have any questions whatsoever, you can either go online to powerpole.com or you can go down to your local dealer. And that's today's Power Pole tip of the week. You know, Brie, power pole, now when I look at the back of a boat and the power poles aren't sticking up, it doesn't look right anymore. It's kind of like back in the day when they invented the platform for poling.
Yeah.
When you had a skiff and it didn't have a poling platform, it just didn't look right. Now power poles, if it ain't on the boat, it just doesn't look right.
You're not using
just
your
an
best chance.
observation.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, Captain Jimbo Thomas is buttoning us up in the Casa Vieja region with an exciting weekend full of options out there. So, Jimbo, let's hear them.
That's right, Bree, and hello, Rick and Dave. Well, you know, we catch plenty of mutton, vermilion, and yellow eye snapper, which they're all red, but we don't catch too many true red snapper. Now, since it's been illegal to keep any true reds caught in Atlantic federal waters for the last 10 years or so, they've made a great comeback, and we're seeing them on a much more regular basis. Now, depending on which area of the region you're fishing out of, you might or might not be in federal or state waters. State waters extend 3 miles out from the beach, and then federal waters are from 3 miles on out. So if you catch a red snapper from Palm Beach south to Biscayne, or south to Key Biscayne, most likely you're in state waters and you can keep that fish. But as you get south of Key Biscayne, chances are that you're going to be in federal waters and you're going to have to let them go. Now, I've had my best success catching red snapper around the wrecks in 250 to the 300-foot range in the winter months. And our bait of choice is a live pinfish, but pretty much any other good live bait will work. And they'll also eat cut bait, but the fish on the live baits are generally much larger, and the few that we do see are usually in the 15 to 20-pound range. Now, when we're dropping on the wrecks, we like to use 30 to 50-pound tackle, enough weight to hold bottom, and a long 50 to 80-pound mono or fluoro leader and an 8/0 circle hook. And you want to try and fish the bait as close to the bottom as possible without hanging the wreck. Now, when we drop on the wrecks, we're not really targeting any one species, so when that rod bends over, it can be some kind of jack, grouper, or snapper, and every now and then we're surprised with a nice big true red snapper. Now, there is a federal snapper mini-season that's going to open up for 5 days in July, and I believe the dates are July 12th, 13th, and 14th, and then July 19th and 20th, and the limit will be 1 red snapper per person per day with no size limit. Now, I got a photo here of a 20-pound-plus red snapper that we caught on a wreck off of Key Biscayne, but unfortunately, we are out in federal waters, so we had to let it go. We used our sequelizer to get him back down, so hopefully he survived.
I'm sure he did, Jimbo. Way to take care of the fish. Hey, another fish that I know you spend a lot of time tagging, why don't you tell me about the dolphin?
That's right. Now, the dolphin has definitely picked up in the last week. We've been finding schools of fish anywhere from 8 to 15 miles offshore, but the problem is a lot of those fish have been on the small side, so we've been picking through the fish. We've been keeping the legals and tagging and releasing those short ones. Now, generally, when you hit a school, the larger fish are going to bite first because they're more aggressive. That's why they're the bigger fish. So once the size starts shrinking, move on to another school. You don't want to sit there and catch short after short and hurt those suckers. Now, most of the schools have been under birds and scattered sargassum weed, and they've been traveling to the south. They haven't been too finicky once we find them. We've been getting them on the troll with rig ballyhoo and small lures. Once we find them, we've been pitching live pilchards, cut ballyhoo, and cut bonita to them. And there's also been a few larger fish caught under frigate birds and under the Brie, but generally you just have to get lucky to find that big fish. Now, I got a photo here. And this big bull dolphin was caught off Port Everglades aboard Sharkey's machine with Captain Brian Sharkey.
All right, let's go inshore, bub.
Heard of in the last few days.
Let's go inshore.
Now, moving inshore, got big schools of snook can be found outside of Lake Worth Inlet and Boynton Inlet. And when the water's clear, you can spot those fish or mark them on your depth machine. Then as you get further to the south, the fish are there, but they're just not as thick. Live pilchards, pinfish, herrings, and croakers fish near the bottom on both the tides in the early morning and the evenings. That's been getting the most bites. And then snook have also been running up and down the beaches. And when the water's calm and clear, the fish can be spotted cruising in those troughs just off the beach. If you can find some schools of bait off the beach, the snook and tarpon will be following them. So look for birds diving and any other signs of bait. You want to fish with live baits or sardine and pilchard imitating artificials. Got another photo here. This isn't a snook, but this is 5-year-old Hayden Thomas, who caught his first fish after attending the kids show last week.
That's so awesome.
So I think Roland Martin better look out. We got another bass master.
All right, quickly on the tarpon, bub, please.
Tarpon have been plentiful in the inlets, off the beaches, and around the ICW bridges. Best fishing is going to be in the evenings using small live crabs and live mullet. And around the inlets, look for tarpon rolling or marked on your depth machine. Drift those areas with the live crabs. And around the bridges and dock lights, work the shadow lines on the Alcohol tide with live crabs, live mullet, swimming lures, and soft plastics. Most of these tarpon have been in the 30 to 80-pound range.
All right, thank you so much, Jimbo. We're going to go ahead and take a look at the R&R tackle hotspots from the southeast region. Inshore, first tarpon and snook off the beaches with live and artificial baits early in the morning and late in the afternoon. And then offshore, head offshore and search for the mahis and 8 to 15 miles out under the birds, floaters, and the weed lines, Brie.
That photo killed me. Our kids are out there.
Yeah,
They're doing
man.
it and catching.
They are.
All right, well, we're out of regions, but not quite out of time, so stay with us as we figure out what we're fishing for next week. What are we fishing for, Rick?
I don't know.
I don't know. You want a sword fight?
Nope.
Okay, fine. We'll be back.
Titan and Titan XD Diesel from Harbor Trucks has America's best truck warranty, 5 years, 100,000-mile bumper-to-bumper, and can tow up to 12,000 pounds. Harbor Trucks has the largest selection of Titan XD and Titan in Florida, starting at $29,000. Harbor Trucks is conveniently located halfway between Tampa and Naples. Harbor Trucks, the place to buy.
Master your most challenging offshore experience with confidence and ease with Yamaha Helmmaster. Precise, intuitive control on the open seas. Unrivaled ease for maneuvering and docking in port. And now SetPoint adds 3 new dimensions to boat control. Maintain boat position with fish point, or a position and heading with stay point, or a heading while you drift with drift point. Yamaha Helmmaster. Now with SetPoint. Complete digital control for today's larger offshore boats.
For the bass that thinks it's a bulldog. For the walleye that thinks it's a freight train. For the tuna that thinks it's a torpedo. For the tarpon that thinks it's a tarpon. You need the mono that thinks it's a braid. Suffix Advance. New Advanced Mono with HMPE braid molecules for strength, abrasion resistance, and low stretch. Suffix Advance. The mono that thinks it's a braid.
Do things. Be sane. Don't fritter away your time. Create. Act. Take a place wherever you are. And be somebody. Get action.
Make sure to tune in next week because we are talking swordfish. That's
Oh,
where I
why
was
you
going.
wanted to have a sword
Sword
fight.
fight. Ta-ta! And then he just goes,
Usually too
no.
many dudes at the party.
Nope. All right, well, we have an extension to our rigs and techniques, right? We want
Mike.
to ask Mike about.
On the color graph,
yes.
When you're looking at the bottom, when you
Right.
talk about pull down, tell me about that.
So what
quick.
we didn't get to, and it's really important, if you look at your bottom machine, it shows just a flat red, right? Well, underneath that is what we call the pull down. The reds and the yellows underneath. The more red you have, the more rock you have. The more yellow you have, the more
Softer at
sand.
the bottom.
Right, yeah. You're looking for the red.
That hard.
Red bottom, red snapper.
Tips
Red
for you
snapper,
guys.
red bottom.
All right, get out there this weekend. Thanks for tuning in.